हाँ जी गाइस, गुड आफ्टरनून। आप लोगों ने इतनी जोर से गुड आफ्टरनून बोला, मेरे कान ही फट गए। गाइस गुड आफ्टरनून। दैट्स नाइस। हाउ आर यू गाइस डूइंग? गुड। इसका साउंड थोड़ा सा कम, इको है थोड़ा, ठीक है। तो आई एम अमन सोनी एंड आई विल बी टेकिंग केयर ऑफ इंडियन, थोड़ा ज़्यादा ऑफ योर इंडियन इकोनॉमी पार्ट। एंड before we start everything, means let me give you a brief of the syllabus. The prelims, what's the prelim syllabus, what's the main syllabus, then we start the whole thing, right? So even you would be getting this copy, ठीक है? So this, if you see the prelim syllabus, इसको अगर ऊपर माउस से ना आप देख पा रहे हैं इसको, is it readable and is it readable to you? Is it legible? This thing, this, you know, this part, prelim syllabus, right? So if we talk about prelim syllabus, it mentions sustainable development, economic and social development, talks about sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demographics, social sector initiatives. The syllabus is given, but the chapters are not given. Similarly, so if I talk about sustainable development, it has more of an annotation of, say, the environment part, sustainable development, poverty related to social justice part, inclusion, yes, it is related to core economics, which is, I would say, inclusive growth. Inclusive growth, one pillar of inclusive growth is financial inclusion also. That's one part. Demographics, when I say demographics, means related to population, related to unemployment. That's the main annotation over here. And social sector initiatives like government scheme. If we talk about main syllabus, it talks about Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, and employment. Now in this part, Indian economy and issues related to planning we are not going to discuss. Reason being, when the syllabus was brought, that time we had planning commission. Now we do not have planning commission, so planning part is irrelevant to you. Mobilization of resources, this thing I'll be telling you. Look, if I talk about the lecture plan, today's the lecture number 1. We'll be starting with microeconomics. Then we'll have national income. National income will be having 2 classes: economic development and inclusive growth. Now, this part, sustainable development, poverty, inclusion. These 3 parts of prelims, all right, are basically these 2 chapters: economic development, HDI, that is Human Development Index, Gender Inequality Index. This is gender. This is Global Hunger Index, Gross National Happiness, Inclusive Growth, and MPI. This is about the development part, and poverty is this part. Then we'll have fiscal policy, monetary policy, taxation, inflation, banking, money market, capital market. Let me explain. Look, if I talk about Indian economy, then we'll have microeconomics, national income. Don't write, अभी कुछ लिखना नहीं है, ठीक है? National income, then economic development, fiscal policy, monetary policy, taxation, inflation, banking, and money market and capital market. अब समझो, before telling, because I was just writing this because I was waiting for all the people to get in. First of all, you guys won't be using any notebook. What you would be using is, you would be using loose A4 sheets. Yes, better than A4. जैसे we have this loose A4 sheets. So instead of using a notebook, I would suggest you guys use loose A4 sheets. Loose A4 sheets, they give me flexibility. So what type of flexibility do they give? Suppose I'm done with the chapter of fiscal policy. In fiscal policy, there is one important topic which is finance commission. We already have 15th finance commission. I'll be teaching you 15th finance commission, but by the time your syllabus gets over, by the time you start appearing for the exam, we will be getting recommendations of 16th finance commission. So now you already have notes of fiscal policy, you already have notes of finance commission, of 15th finance commission. So where do you add the notes of 16th finance commission? If you use a register or a notebook, we do not have that flexibility of adding the notes of 16th finance commission just after 15th finance commission. So if we have loose A4 sheets, then just after fiscal policy, I can add one more sheet mentioning 16th finance commission. Because when next year when you will be appearing for the prelims test series, mains test series, that time the syllabus of the test series would be fiscal policy. It won't be separately mentioning fiscal policy, current affairs, fiscal policy static part. It would be saying fiscal policy, that's it. So you need to have your static and current part at the same place. Hence, loose A4 sheets give me the flexibility which is given to me by MS Word. I can add anything anywhere. Similarly, we get budget every year. You would be aware about defense expenditure. So defense expenditure, suppose this year we are giving 1 lakh crore rupees as defense expenditure in the budget of 24-25. And then you are appearing in, suppose 2026 exam, 2026 prelims or 2026 mains. I am telling you 1 lakh crore rupees which you would be writing right now. But then in 2026 when you will be appearing, you need to quote data which is latest. You need to quote the data from budget of 2026. Where do I add that? That flexibility is given to me by making a margin on every sheet. So what we will be doing is, we will be using loose A4 sheets, and on every sheet we will be putting up a margin like this, so that if there is any current affair related to that particular topic, we add it over here. Is it okay? That's the first thing. ये ले बेटा, ये तेरा है ना. Second thing, you guys would be having your optionals also. All of you would be going for your optional classes, which may be either at 11 o'clock or say 5 o'clock, right? But you have an optional class, you have a GS class. So around 5 hours of class, you are putting in around 5 hours of classroom you are putting up daily. Then it's obviously like, if the class is at, say, what time is your PSR class? 11 o'clock. Or someone is at 5 o'clock, right? Or all of you are 11 o'clock batch? अच्छा, कुछ 8 बजे वाले बच्चे भी हैं, ठीक है, ठीक. तो जो भी है, मतलब अगर 8 बजे की क्लास है, whether the class is at 8 o'clock or the class is at 11 o'clock or the class is at 2 o'clock or even 5 o'clock, you guys would be leaving your home at least 15-20 minutes before the class. And then it's not that you are studying and suddenly you get up and you come to the class like this. Even before that, it gets into your head, हाँ class जाना है, class जाना है, class जाना है. So though you are putting in 5 hours of class, effectively it's taking around 6.5 or even 7 hours of your time on a daily basis. Am I right in this case? Then your first priority would be, after going back home, you would be doing your optionals. So if your class is of 2.5 hours, you would be spending around 2 hours daily for your optional revision. That's what I'm guessing. That's what it normally is, 2 hours. And then it would be like 2 hours for your, say 1 hour for your GS revision. It's already 5 hours of classroom and 3 hours of revision at home. It's already 8 hours of study on a daily basis. Top of that, now I'm coming to the expected part. You are expected to read newspaper, which would take around 2 hours. I would say 2 hours. Then you would say, sir, reference material. Now, do you have time beyond that? Point is, right now, you guys would be preparing for the last 3-4 months, right? In the last 3-4 months, are you guys regularly reading newspaper on a daily basis? So not, because you're not getting time. And it's not about you. All other classrooms running all over here, no one is doing it. Freshers are not doing it. People who are doing your option, people who are doing their optional for the first time, doing their GS for the first time, they are not getting time to read newspaper, not getting time to read NCERT, not getting time to read study material, and forget about reference books. So if you are also in one of those boats, do not worry about it, because everyone who is preparing for next year is in the same boat. No one is getting time to read. तो अगर आपको ये स्ट्रेस हो रहा है कि आई एम नॉट गेटिंग टाइम टू रीड, डू नॉट बी वरीड अबाउट इट, बिकॉज नो वन इज गेटिंग टाइम टू रीड. ठीक है, कैन यू टेक आउट योर मोबाइल्स प्लीज एवरीवन? मोबाइल्स, सेटिंग पे जाइए एक बार. गो टू सेटिंग्स, स्क्रॉल डाउन, डिजिटल वेलबींग एंड पेरेंटल कंट्रोल, क्लिक करो. तो कितना निकल के आ रहा है? 1 घंटा 38, अभी तो आधा दिन हुआ है. Go one day back. One day back would be better scenario. It will be giving us 24 hours. हाँ जी, कितना निकल रहा है बच्चों? 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 घंटे. हाँ जी, कितना निकल रहा है बच्चों? 0. इंटरनेट लगवा लो फोन पे. दूसरा. ऑलराइट, हाँ जी. The point is, I hope now you would be knowing very well where are we putting our time. और उसमें कैन यू सी इंस्टा पे कितना है, व्हाट्सएप पे कितना है, टेलीग्राम पे कितना है, यूट्यूब पे कितना है, सब दे रहा है वो. इट्स गिविंग अस एवरीथिंग. दिस इज वेयर वी कैन यूज आवर टाइम. We do not even know how much time we are putting in. Let us see how your teacher is behaving. कितना होगा मेरा? हैं? Who is this? 13 घंटे वाला. किसका, कितने लोगों का मिला के? भाई देखो, my today is 1 hour 17 minutes. Yesterday was 4 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours 34 minutes. But that was I was studying that day. Anyways, so now important thing is you need to cut down this time. Cut it down to at the max 1 hour then only you would get time to read the newspaper at least. So your focus should be coming to the class, attending the class properly, going back home, revising optional, revising GS, and reading newspaper. That's it. I do not expect anything else from you. I won't be giving you a task like read NCERT. I won't be giving you a task like read reference book study material. Nahi. Something which is not even possible, that type of task should not be given. So if you are given, जल्दी दे दो प्लीज. इनको पकड़ा दीजिए, खुद ले लेंगे ना ये. अब जो मिला है उसको देखने मत लेना लगे ना, मेरे को सुनना है. आई एम मोर इंपॉर्टेंट हियर. 2 मिनट जल्दी दे दो प्लीज. आप अपनी सीट बदल लीजिए, आप यहाँ पे आ जाइए, आप यहाँ पे आ जाइए. हाँ, एक मेरे को पकड़ा दो प्लीज. ये इनको एक और दे दीजिए यहाँ पे प्लीज. है ठीक. हाँ जी. So first, so do not read it right now. I'll be telling you what to read, what not to read. Forget about it. Okay. The important thing is, if you are not getting time to read, do not take a stress over it. No one is getting time to read. What we can do is, what is achievable is reading newspaper on a daily basis. That you need to do. So your task, coming to the class, attending the class properly, going back home, first priority, revising optional, second priority, revising GS, third priority, newspaper. That's it. That's it for the day. Nothing more than that. Second thing. Economics is a subject which everyone fears about. Whether most of you would be fearing this subject the maximum. Anyone with the economics background over here? No one. So are you from sciences background? Who is engineer over here? Any engineer? You are the only one who is engineer. Others, are you from sciences background? BSc, something like that? BSc. ठीक है. बाकी बच्चे BA, arts. बाकी सब arts वाले. So obviously, look, point is, point is, someone would say, sir, I am doing economics for the first time. You would be coming to me individually and saying, sir, I am doing economics for the first time. Believe me, everyone sitting here is doing economics for the first time. So whether you're from sciences background or from an engineering background or a doctor background or you say arts background, everyone is doing for the first time. So when everyone is doing for the first time, need not be afraid about it. For example, leave the example. So point is, suppose I want to buy a car. I really want to buy a car and I don't have money to buy the car. So how can I do it? I can take a loan. But then a news comes up. Which says that starting from this December, RBI is going to reduce the interest rates. Okay? So if RBI would be reducing the interest rates, means you would have heard about repo rate. So even if you haven't heard about it, it's still okay. So if you come to know that, that starting from this December, banks are going to reduce their lending rate. So shall I buy a car now or shall I buy a car in January? In January, because then I'll be able to use the reduced interest rates. So this is what is the basic of monetary policy. Interest rates. Similarly, if government has to encourage agriculture sector, suppose government has two options, increase agriculture sector or say focus on the growth of industrial sector. How can government increase the growth of agriculture sector? What can it do? or I would say increase the budgetary allocation for agriculture. Whatever the government is spending on agriculture, if the government spends more on agriculture, then probably farmers will be doing better. That's the basic of fiscal policy, government's expenditure. Earlier, corporates were paying whatever was the profit of a corporate, it was paying 30% of that profit as tax. Fair enough? If I have Reliance and Reliance has a profit of 1 CR, out of 1 CR it would be paying 30 lakh rupees as tax. Now suppose the tax rate has been brought from 30% to 22%. That instead of 30 lakh of tax, 8 lakh of tax is to be paid. Will it have any impact on employment? Kaise? Don't you think now the disposable income of the corporate would increase? Earlier it was paying 30 lakh rupees of tax, now it's paying 8 lakh, now it's paying 22 lakh rupees of tax, it still has 8 lakh more rupees. Don't you think this 8 lakh rupees can be spent on any investment? If there is investment, don't you think there would be employment generation? This is the basic of taxation. So it's not that, another thing. What's the price of apple nowadays? We eat unhealthy things, sorry. What's the price of samosa nowadays? 15 rupees ka. So when you were kids, what was the price of samosa? 5 rupees. So has the price increased? This is what is called inflation, price increase. So point is, in our day-to-day life, we deal with economics. We deal with finances, we deal with interest rates, we deal with inflation. It is just that we do not know about it. So now what I'll be doing is, what my task over here is, I'll be telling you what are the concepts of economics. So first point or first important thing in learning economics is, forget about the fear of the subject. That's the most important thing. For example, if your history teacher comes and talks about Mahatma Gandhi, so right now when I said Mahatma Gandhi, do you have a picture of Mahatma Gandhi wearing t-shirt and jeans? You have that typical dhoti kurta and that spec. So if he talks something about Mahatma Gandhi, you know who Mahatma Gandhi is. You can relate. History teacher comes and says Samrat Ashok, or he talks about Kalinga. You know what is Kalinga, you know what Samrat Ashok is. Idea hai. Polity teacher comes and says Prime Minister. Automatically it comes into head, Modi ji. Polity teacher comes and says Supreme Court. When he says Supreme Court, you know, you have that picture of this thing, right? कि Supreme Court है, झंडा लगा हुआ है, right? Geography teacher comes and says Himalayas. You know, हाँ Himalayas हैं, पहाड़ हैं, snow laden है, देहरादून है, मनाली है, कश्मीर है, समझ में आता है. He comes and says Western Ghats. He comes and says monsoon. You have heard these things. Your environment teacher comes and says climate change. You say we know it, we can feel it. Flash floods, trouble burning. Science and tech teacher comes and says Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan. You know about it. I come and say hybrid annuity model. I come and say MCLR, base rate. How are these terms? I say negotiable warehouse receipt. सर आप ये क्या बोल रहे हो? Point is, all other subjects, science, tech, environment, geography, history, polity, you have read those subjects earlier. School time में, college में, newspaper में, you have read them somewhere. So you have a sense of familiarity with them. This subject you are not familiar with. You are not aware about the subject. And as you are not aware about the subject, hence you are afraid of the subject. So when you are not aware about someone, when When you're not aware about someone, why to be afraid about it? It can be easier. It can come out to be easier than geography, come out to be easier than polity, than history. The first thing which is important is you need to come in the class with an open mind. एक सब्जेक्ट नया है बस, उसके बियॉन्ड कुछ नहीं. इट्स अ न्यू सब्जेक्ट टू यू. इट मे बी डिफिकल्ट, इट मे बी इजी, इट कैन बी एनीथिंग, बट वन थिंग व्हिच इज श्योर अबाउट दिस सब्जेक्ट इज दैट द सब्जेक्ट इज न्यू. As the subject, so point is, you started reading geography, history, polity from your 6th class. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 7 साल. 7 years you have read geography, history, polity in different ways. Economy you haven't ever read once. So in your familiarity with the subject, in your acquaintance with the subject of history, polity, geography, you are here. Economy, you are somewhere over here, over lower than this. You are over here, right? How do I make sure this subject goes to this level? So if here I am putting 2 revisions, here I need to put in 6 revisions, then only you come at all these subjects come at the same level. So important thing reading about economics is you'll have to put in more effort in revising as compared to what you had done for other subjects. So after going back home, if you could revise geography, history, polity in say 1 hour, 1.5 hour, go back home and put 2 hours, 2.5 hours for this. ज़्यादा टाइम डालना पड़ेगा. And do not mug up the subject. रटने से काम नहीं होगा. You'll have to understand the things. Is it okay? Now take out the syllabus. Take on please. अब देखो, so prelims is, do one thing on the prelims syllabus: sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demography, social sector initiatives, right? Put P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. It's like prelims का 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ठीक है. सिमिलरली मेंस का भी डालिए, मेंस 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ऐसे करके. मेंस का 10 टॉपिक है, सही है. M1 ऐसा करके डालिए, M1, M2, M3. ठीक है. नाउ कम टू लेक्चर प्लान. In lecture number 4, put P1. Lecture number 5, put P2. Put P3 in lecture number 4. P3 in lecture number 4. P4 also in lecture number 4. And also in lecture number 41. So as of now, and social sector initiatives, it is again P4. It is again lecture number 4. Economic development and inclusive growth. P5, social sector initiatives, it comes in lecture number 4. So now see this, out of the 4 prelims topics, 5 prelims topics, 4 are there in 1. And if you see the PYQs, we have every type of PYQs, right? We have questions from interest rates, repo rates, finance commission, From where do all these things are coming up, right? So now microeconomics, write down P. P means important for prelims. National income, P plus M means important for pre and mains both. Economic development, P and M. इसके अंदर inclusive growth, right? Inclusive growth put in a box. Lecture number 4. Lecture number 4, micro topics. Inclusive growth. Put inclusive growth in a box and write in bold mains. One of the most important topic for mains. Go to micro topics. Micro topics में लिखिए. In micro topics, inclusive growth. The most important topic for mains is inclusive growth. ठीक है? Then poverty, mains. Fiscal policy, pre and mains. Now come to the main syllabus. Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment, right? Put it as M1, right? And starting from lecture number 1 to lecture number 27, put it as M1. This complete M1. All right. M2 is inclusive growth and issues arising out of it. See, inclusive growth and issues arising out of it. Put it under lecture number 4. I hope you can understand what I am telling you. We are mapping the syllabus and what we are going to discuss. That's what we are doing. Government budgeting, right? Go to fiscal policy. This is your M3. Fiscal policy is M3, right? In M3, in micro topics, in fiscal policy, lecture number 6, 7, 8. Lecture number 6, 7, 8. Add one more topic over here, types of budget. In fiscal policy, in the 8th one, add types of budget. Lecture number 8, Finance Commission, types of government schemes. Add one more thing, types of government's budget. Is it okay? Fiscal policy important for pre and mains both. Written. Monetary policy important only for prelims. Taxation pre and mains both. Right, P and M. Inflation only pre. Banking pre and mains. Money market, capital market only prelims. After that, we'll be doing prelims PYQs, then WTO IMF pre and mains both. Then land reforms, right? Now, land reform is M7. Check it out. M7. M7. Then agriculture. Agriculture is M4, 5. M4 and 5. M4 and 5. Agriculture is M4 and 5. All right. Then food processing and relating industries. That is M6, right? That is M6, lecture 33. ठीक है. Infrastructure M9. Industries is M8, Effect of liberalization. Unemployment we have already done, right? I hope we are done with it. Okay, so all these things. Now, land reforms only mains. Land reforms only mains. Lecture number 28, right? Land reform is only mains. Agriculture pre and mains. Food processing industry only mains. Investment models only mains. Infra pre and mains. Industries pre and mains. Unemployment pre and mains. Fair enough, right? So this is, I would say, the most important part of your handouts. This mapping is going to help you out. Okay? Let's start with the syllabus. Let's start with the class. हाँ जी बेटा. Someone is seeing a doubt? Asking a doubt? हाँ, एक और बात. If someone has any doubt, please ask the doubt. But please let me complete the topic, then ask your doubt. Do not interrupt in between, right? Multiple times what would happen is this, he may be having a doubt, but he may think that if he asks a doubt, what would this boy think about him? It's quite possible this boy has the same doubt. And he thinks if he asks a doubt, what would he think about him? And in this process, both of them do not ask the doubt. So if you are coming over here, if you are paying fees over here, please ask your doubts. Okay, let's start the class. Chapter number 1. Introduction to Economics. You love musical chair game? I thought probably that's your favorite game. Acha, haan, one more thing. Occasionally I may pull up your legs. I may pull your legs. So bear with it, please. Okay? And I will crack jokes. I am a humorous person. And the subjects of my jokes are students. Okay? So be ready for it. Okay? Means I hope you can take jokes. Do we have that much of patience? What's that called? Sahanshilta. What was missing? What's that Sahanshilta called in English? Tolerance. Yes, so political science वाले बच्चे हैं क्या? Do we have that much of tolerance in us that you can bear jokes? हाँ जी? क्या कह रहे हैं आप? ठीक है, बस इतना ही चाहिए. जैसे दूसरे के ना हो तो मेरा साथ दे देना बस. चलो. Do you guys come regularly to the class? These all you guys? You guys are regular? फिर नाम ही पूछ लेते. तुम आज ही आए हो. अच्छा, ज्यादा बच्चे. आपका नाम बताओ बेटा. अनीश. अनीश. तुम ऐसे मैचिंग मास्क पहनते हो रोज? अच्छा अच्छा, तो इसलिए काला पहना है. अनीश. हर्षित. अरशद अर्जुन. हाँ बेटा, कनक. कितना अच्छा नाम है तुम्हारा. फूड सिक्योरिटी. हाँ जी, वैष्णवी, हाँ जी। भूमि, भूमिका, हाँ जी। सलोनी, हिमांगिनी, हिमांगिनी। सोनिया, नम्रता, नयन, नयन। चंदना, चंदना, हाँ जी। छोटा नाम नहीं है कोई। मुत्तम, मुत्तम ना, MUTTAM। Do you have a, like your parents, like my name is Deepu. So at my home we have what's that called? Small name, right? Nickname. We have a nickname, beta. तमिल, 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 बस सही बात, अपना हो गया सेट। दे अनीश, तुम्हारा नंबर कल आएगा, ठीक है। अनीश, अरशद, अर्जुन, कनक, वैष्णवी, भूमिका, तुम्हें भूल गया था मैं, सॉरी। सलोनी, हिम, हिम, हिमांगिनी, नम्रता, सोनिया, रुकबी, चंदना, तमिल, नयन, ठीक है। आई होप वी आर राइट, राइट, ठीक है। तो कल प्लीज यहीं पर बैठना, बिकॉज फॉर मी ही इज अर्जुन। So if tomorrow Arshad sits here, he is still Arjun. I hope things are okay, right? तुम्हारे नाम कल करेंगे, ठीक है। तो कल से प्लीज क्लास में टाइम पे आया करो, करेंगे हम लोग, ठीक है। चलो शुरू करते हैं। What is economics? Now economics, it comes from two words. One is oikos, other is nomos. लिखते रहिए साथ साथ, ठीक है। ओइकोस एंड नोमोस, ठीक है। एक्चुअली डू नॉट इवन नो व्हाई डिड आई आस्क योर नेम्स। ग्रीक ही है। ओइकोस, बोथ ऑफ देम आर ग्रीक वर्ड्स एक्चुअली। ओइकोस, इट मीन्स हाउस होल्ड। नोमोस, इट मीन्स मैनेजमेंट। Management. For example, what do we have here? For example, most of our parents, they are in salaried job. People who are in salaried jobs, they would be getting a monthly salary. They would be getting a salary, say 50,000 rupees. And in this 50,000 rupees, they would be writing it कि हाँ 50,000 है, in this 10,000 रेंट, 10,000 राशन, 5,000 बच्चों की स्कूल फीस, 2,000 मेडिसिन, 7,000 फ्रूट्स, 5,000, 50, 60,000 iPhone, 60,000। फिर और क्या चाहिए आप बच्चों को? मूवी, 10,000 मूवीज, 20,000 ट्रिप। है क्या हो गया बेटा? तो वही तो मैं कह रहा हूं कि हर परिवार की ख्वाहिशें बहुत सारी होती हैं। वी हैव अनलिमिटेड नीड्स, वी हैव अनलिमिटेड डिमांड्स, बट पॉइंट इज वी हैव लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज विद अस। So with these limited resources, how do we handle our unlimited demands? That is what is called household management. That is what is called economics, right? So what would we do in this case? We'll find out our priorities, right? Rent जरूरी है, राशन जरूरी है, बच्चों की स्कूल की फीस जरूरी है, मेडिसिन जरूरी है, फ्रूट्स, we will not have apple, we'll have banana, और 2000 में आएगा। आईफोन, we'll have my phone, that will come in 10,000. Movies, Telegram. Trip, yes, trip नानी का घर, exactly. So what are we doing? What are we doing exactly? We are giving priority to our needs. We have unlimited needs, we have unlimited demands. So to meet those unlimited demands from limited resources, it is called economics. And for doing that, we'll have to prioritize our needs. We'll have to select certain needs which we can fulfill, and we'll have to let go certain needs and demands which we do not need. Fair enough? So write down. Economics means optimum utilization of the available scarce resources. Scarce means limited. Now, economics is different from economy. ठीक है? Economics क्या है? Economics is a subject. It is theory. It tells about the concepts of the subject. For example, economics would tell about GDP, inflation, interest rates, etc. ठीक है? So all the concepts of the subjects are done in economics. ठीक है? साथ साथ लिखते रहा करो. GDP, inflation, interest rates, etc. ठीक है? On the other hand, economy, it is the practical. Concepts applied in real life. Concepts applied in real life, that is what is economy. ठीक है? But write down a sentence. Just the word economy doesn't make any sense. Just the word economy doesn't make any sense. For the word economy, to get any meaning to it, comma, it should be associated or attached with the particular region or area. Particular region or area, REGION या फिर एरिया. ठीक है? हाँ हिमांगिनी, क्या छूट गया बेटा? हो गया? ठीक है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंडियन इकोनॉमी. or Kerala's economy. Kerala's economy. So for example, if I use the word, लिख लिया आप लोगों ने? For example, if I use the word economy, it would have no sense, no meaning. But when I say Kerala's economy, it means doing all these concepts, GDP, inflation, interest rates from Kerala's perspective. So I would say, what is the GDP of Kerala? What is the inflation in Kerala? What is the unemployment in Kerala? Okay, so all these concepts done from a particular area's perspective, it would give economy of that particular area. So I would have world economy. I would have Pakistan's economy, Indian economy. I hope you're able to understand this, right? Put a star and write. The syllabus for UPSC exam, the syllabus for UPSC exam, लिख लीजिए. The syllabus for UPSC exam is not economics. Is not economics, but it is Indian economic development. Indian economic development. So we would do, लिख लीजिए, we would do all the concepts of economics from Indian perspective. Example, inflation in India, taxation in India, etc. Is it okay? ठीक है, तो हमारा सिलेबस इकोनॉमिक्स नहीं रहेगा, हम कोर इकोनॉमिक्स बिल्कुल नहीं करेंगे. Neither will do microeconomics nor will do macroeconomics, but whatever are the concepts of macroeconomics, we'll be doing it from Indian perspective. I hope things are okay to you. Now let's move to next topic. That topic is types of goods. Topic is types of goods. ठीक है? And in types of goods, we have multiple classifications. First is classification based on ownership of goods. Classification based on ownership of goods. ठीक है, और उसके अंदर फर्स्ट वन is public goods. Public goods. Write down. Public goods. Look, in the class there would be a mixture of me explaining on the board the way I did it over here. ये तो नहीं समझाया था. Yeah, like this. It would be a mixture of me explaining on the board. Side by side there would be dictation. Both things would go simultaneously. ठीक है? Public goods. Write down. They are available to everyone. They are available to everyone without any competition and without any competition and without any exclusion. ब्रैकेट में लिखिए नो कंपटीशन नो एक्सक्लूजन. ब्रैकेट में लिखिए नो कंपटीशन, नो एक्सक्लूजन। ठीक है, अंडरलाइन कर लीजिए इसको। नो कंपटीशन, नो एक्सक्लूजन, ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है। नो कंपटीशन, नो एक्सक्लूजन। नो कंपटीशन के नीचे एरो डाल के लिखिए। No one can be prevented from consuming them. And individuals can use them. No one can be prevented from consuming them, and individuals can use them without reducing their availability to other individuals. जो है ना, no one can be prevented from consuming them, put it under a box and write meaning non-excludable. No one can be prevented means non-excludable. मैं समझा दूंगा इसको, कोई बात नहीं। And individuals can use them without reducing their availability. Put it under a box and write non-rival. Non-rival. Suppose with a street light. So Arjun, can you use the street light for your purpose? And if you are using the street light, does it reduce the light for Arshad? It doesn't reduce the light for him, right? So street light is non-excludable, it is non-rival in nature. If one is using, it is not reducing it for someone else. It is non-excludable. And it is like we cannot exclude other people from getting it. We cannot say this, that I am having street light, so you cannot take a street light. We cannot exclude people, right? And if one is using it, it doesn't reduce the availability for someone else. It means there is no competition also. If we talk about green pastures, you know what are green pastures? If we talk about forest fruits, let's talk about forest fruits. Are forest fruits excludable in nature? So if all of us have access to fruits in the forest, can all of us take that fruit? Yes, we can take that fruit. No one can tell us you cannot take it because it is his personal property, because forest is not a personal property. But if there are 100 apples and we have 200 people in the class, then don't you think if first 100 people have those apples, other 100 won't be able to get those apples? It means they are rival in nature. No issues. Keep on writing, I'll explain it to you. Keep on writing. Examples of public goods are fresh air, street light, roads, etc. Next is private goods. Private goods. they are excludable, and rival also, they are excludable and rival also. Thus anyone who cannot afford private goods is excluded from their consumption. Who cannot afford private goods is excluded from their consumption. Example, a Mercedes. Think. And consumption of private goods by an individual prevents other individuals from consuming the same goods. Therefore private goods have competition and are also called rival goods. Example of private goods are ice cream, house, cars, etc. Next is club goods. Third type of goods are club goods. मान लो एक क्लब है और क्लब के अंदर एक स्विमिंग पूल है एंड ओनली दीज पीपल दे हैव मेंबरशिप ऑफ दैट क्लब. You people do not have membership of that club. So now the swimming pool in that club, is it available to everyone? It's not available to everyone. It's available to only those people who have membership. So certain people are excluded. These people, they have access to swimming pool. If he is swimming in the swimming pool, does it reduce the access for him? He can still have it. If these three are swimming in the swimming pool, those three can also swim in the swimming pool. So what are club goods? They are excludable but are non-rival in nature. If one is using it, it is not reducing the availability for someone else. That's called rival. समझ में आ रहा बात? Are you able to understand this? Excludable means can everyone have it or not. Rival means if someone is using it, does it reduce the availability for someone else? Are you able to understand this? So write down club good. They are excludable. But are non-rival in nature. Thus individuals can be prevented from consuming them. ब्रैकेट में लिखिए means excludable. ठीक, ब्रैकेट क्लोज. but their consumption does not reduce their availability to other individuals, bracket, means non-rival or no competition. Examples of club goods are cinemas, swimming pool in a club, OTT subscription, जो थ्योरेटिकली ये समझता है कि OTT सब्सक्रिप्शन में OTP शेयर नहीं होते और पासवर्ड भी लोग शेयर नहीं करते हैं, उनको ये लगता है, पर ऐसा हम लोग नहीं मानते, राइट? व्हाट्स दैट? उस पर नहीं चलता, वाईफाई पे नहीं चलाना मतलब। नेक्स्ट इज कॉमन रिसोर्सेज, fourth one is common resources. They are non-excludable but rival. Non-excludable means anyone can use them. Rival means if one individual is consuming common resources, then the availability for other individuals is reduced. ठीक है जी? The combination of these two characteristics, often results in क्या होता होगा? मोनोपोली नहीं, अरे वाह यार, व्हाट्स योर नेम? Ninjoy. Have you read it somewhere? What is the tragedy of the commons called? What does it mean? Obviously it's available to all, but if one is using, it means it's not available to someone else. Everyone would think before the other consumes, मैं निपटा दूं. Before the someone else consumes, let me consume it and let me consume it more. Right? That's called tragedy of the commons. Right? So write down. Often results in overuse of the common resources. वॉल्यूम थोड़ा कम कर दो प्लीज, गूंज रहा है, वॉल्यूम कम कर दीजिए प्लीज. Results in an overuse of the common resources. अभी ठीक है. Overuse of the common resources, bracket, also called as tragedy of the commons. Example: fisheries, pastures, 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 etc. टेक 2 minutes, गो थ्रू इट। हाँ जी, पब्लिक गुड्स में, हाँ मेट्रो को तुम कह सकते हो क्लब गुड में, जिसके पास टिकट नहीं है वही यूज कर सकता है, वो यूज नहीं कर सकता क्लब गुड्स। हाँ जी, सेम सेम सेम, सड़क से कोई उतार नहीं सकता पर बस से उतार सकता है। ठीक है, बस सड़क जो है वो पब्लिक गुड में आएगी, बस जो क्लब गुड में आएगी। ठीक है, टेक 2 minutes, गो थ्रू इट। ये कौन से फ्लोर पे है? ये सेकंड फ्लोर है ना? हाँ, तो बेसिकली मैं क्या कर रहा हूं, वो सब बच्चे जिनको नींद आ रही है ना, उनको ग्राउंड से थर्ड पर भेजूंगा सीढ़ियों से, फिर थर्ड से वापस ग्राउंड पे, फिर सीढ़ियों से दोबारा थर्ड पे। तो जिस जिस बच्चे को, किसी बच्चे को नींद तो नहीं आ रही, किसी को भी उबासियां वगैरह आ रही हो, यॉर्निंग हो रही हो, कुछ ऐसा कुछ दिक्कत नहीं ना किसी को, ऑल ओके, फिट एंड फाइन, सही है ना अभी? बस ठीक है, वही वही वैसे बात कर रहा था। आप लोगों से कोई रिलेशन नहीं है, जो पानी पी रहे हैं उनसे कोई रिलेशन नहीं है बिल्कुल भी। 2 मिनट लीजिए, पढ़िए तो इसको। तभी तो कॉमन गुड है ना वो, तभी तो वो कॉमन रिसोर्स है। हर एक आदमी सोचता है इससे पहले दूसरा पी ले, खा ले, मैं खा ले। हाँ जी, हो गया। All right, write down. So this was the classification based on ownership, right? Next is classification based on consumption. क्लासिफिकेशन बेस्ड ऑन कंजम्पशन। ठीक है, इसमें फर्स्ट लिखिए कैपिटल गुड्स। कैपिटल गुड्स, कैपिटल गुड्स, राइट डाउन। कैपिटल गुड्स, कैपिटल गुड्स आर एसेट्स, आर एसेट्स used by a business, used by a business to produce goods or services, goods or services for use by other businesses, these goods will increase our income in future. Example, machinery, or a camera in a classroom, a camera in a classroom, कैमरा कॉमा AC कॉमा स्मार्ट बोर्ड इन अ क्लासरूम। ठीक है, कैमरा, AC और स्मार्ट बोर्ड इन अ क्लासरूम, ये सब कैपिटल गुड्स है। Because right now what are we producing? We are producing services. So this capital goods, they are actually used to produce something else, right? So write down, these goods are not consumed directly. These goods are not consumed directly, but are used to produce other goods. They are generally durable goods. And can be used more than once. Bracket. They are different from intermediate goods. Intermediate goods are used completely. Intermediate goods are used completely in production of the final good, but in production of the final good, but capital goods are not used fully in production of the final good. For example, the groundnut used in poha, हाँ लिखो, groundnut used in poha is an intermediate good. Groundnut used in poha is an intermediate good, but the gas stove used to make poha is the capital good. पोहा, हिमांगी ने पोहा पता है बेटा? येलो कलर होता है, इट्स द यूनिवर्सल डिश ऑफ ORN। समझ में आ रही बात? While poha is the final good, लास्ट सेंटेंस है while poha is the final good. Is it okay? क्लियर है? While poha is the final good. तो स्टोव क्या है? कैपिटल गुड। मूंगफली क्या है? इंटरमीडिएट गुड। टमाटर प्याज क्या है? इंटरमीडिएट गुड। और पोहा अल्टीमेटली क्या है? वो फाइनल गुड। सही है। लास्ट नेक्स्ट थर्ड वन कैपिटल सेकंड वन इज कंजम्पशन गुड्स। ब्रैकेट में लिखिए फाइनल गुड्स। और इसके नीचे लिखिए फाइनल कंजम्पशन गुड्स और फाइनल गुड्स के नीचे फर्स्ट वन, सेकंड वन। ठीक है, कंजम्पशन गुड्स अंडर कंजम्पशन गुड्स फर्स्ट वन, राइट। फर्स्ट वन इज कंज्यूमर ड्यूरेबल्स। consumer durables / durable goods, also called as durable goods. Their lifespan is more than 3 years. Example, car, AC, fridge. Put a star and write. A final good is a good which the final consumer uses, and it does not require any additional processing. सेकंड लिखिए कंज्यूमर नॉन ड्यूरेबल्स. कंज्यूमर नॉन ड्यूरेबल्स lifespan is less than 3 years. Lifespan is less than 3 years. Example, food, clothes, shoes. Food, clothes, shoes. As there, आगे लिखिए, as there, लिख ले बेटा, as their shelf life is less, therefore shelf life समझते हैं कि जल्दी खराब हो जाते हैं, right? As their shelf life is less, they are consumed faster. And are replenished faster. Hence they are called FMCG. फुल फॉर्म पता है सबको? जी से क्या होगा? गुड्स, वेरी गुड, 25% हो गया. सी से क्या होगा? कंज्यूमर गुड्स, ये भी सही हो गया. एफएम से क्या होगा? फास्ट मूविंग कंज्यूमर गुड्स, शैम्पू, सोप, हेयर ऑयल, ये सब. ठीक है. Put a star and write white goods. White, ऐसे क्या देख रहे हो? कभी white देखा नहीं क्या? White goods, WHITE, white. ये एसी कौन से रंग का है? सफेद. घर में जो हम पहले गाड़ियां लेते थे कौन से रंग के होते थे? सफेद. माइक्रोवेव ओवन कौन सा कलर? सफेद. पहले सफेद आता था. वॉशिंग मशीन वाइट. रेफ्रिजरेटर वाइट. They are called white goods. So we have these electrical items at home which are white in color. Hence they are called white goods. So write down. White goods are large home appliances. White goods are large home appliances such as washing machine, refrigerator, AC, which were traditionally which were traditionally made in ceramic white color. They are a subcategory. They are a subcategory of durable goods. They are a subcategory of durable goods. Okay. Put another star and write, government is trying to focus on the import of white goods. Government is trying to focus on restriction the import of white goods. Government is trying to focus on restriction on the import of white goods. As India's imports of white goods are very high. गवर्नमेंट क्या कर रही है, व्हाइट गुड्स का प्रोडक्शन इंडिया में बढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रही है, सो दैट वी import them or from in a lesser quantity. Currently what we are doing is we import white goods, so they contribute to our import budget. So government is trying to focus on production of white goods so that their import is reduced. Next is third one, intermediate goods. Not third here third. See, intermediate goods. Intermediate goods. Intermediate goods are unfinished items which need to undergo further processing before businesses can sell them to consumers. For businesses can sell them to consumers. Example, tomato or onion used by the pohe wala. Whether a good is an intermediate good or a final good depends upon the consumption. Depends upon the consumption. Depends upon the consumption. For example, if a household is buying milk for consumption, then it is a final good. But if a tea shop is buying milk, then then milk is the intermediate good, and the tea produced is the final good. So we have done two classifications till now. First was classification based on ownership, दूसरा classification है based on consumption, right? Next, third one. Classification whether the goods, classification based on whether the goods follow law of demand or not, follow law of demand or not. तो इसमें स्टार डाल के लिखिए लॉ ऑफ डिमांड, लॉ ऑफ डिमांड. Quantity demanded and price. Demand curve. Write down. The law of demand states that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. As per the law of demand, when the price of product increases, the demand for the same product will fall. Law of demand explains sorry, the consumer behavior, the consumer choice behavior when the price changes. समझ में आ रही बात कि अगर किसी चीज का प्राइस बढ़ेगा उसकी डिमांड कम हो जाएगी. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज put another star and write goods which are exception to the law of demand. ठीक है। लॉ ऑफ डिमांड क्या कहता है? कॉन्सेप्ट सिंपल है, प्राइस बढ़ेगा तो डिमांड, जो क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड है वो कम हो जाएगी, सिंपल। देन वी हैव सर्टेन गुड्स व्हिच आर एक्सेप्शन टू लॉ ऑफ डिमांड। फर्स्ट इज गिवन गुड्स। अब हम कर रहे हैं कौन से गुड्स? गुड्स व्हिच आर एक्सेप्शन टू द लॉ ऑफ डिमांड। उसके अंदर फर्स्ट वन आर गिवन गुड्स। ये गिवन गुड्स का कॉन्सेप्ट किसने दिया? रॉबर्ट गिफन ने। concept given by Robert Giffen. Write down. They are basic goods. They are basic goods which are important for day-to-day life. Put in bracket. They are non-luxurious goods. They are non-luxurious goods. Example of given goods. Example of given goods. Salt. Example of given good है salt. कि नमक का प्राइस बढ़ेगा. If price of salt would increase, people would think that before it increases further, it's better we purchase and we hold and we stock, because salt, sugar, they are compulsory item, right? So example is salt and sugar. Salt and sugar. If the prices of these items increase, if the prices of given goods, if the prices of given goods increase, people will start storing them. People will start storing them in the assumption that prices may go up further. Prices may go up further. With the assumption that prices may go up further. ठीक है. Second is Veblen goods. Veblen goods. अभी ये लेटेस्ट आईफोन आया ना, आईफोन 16, भीड़ देखी आप लोगों ने, लोगों की. People were like queue like at 12 a.m. to buy iPhone 16, and these were those people who already had iPhone 15. तो iPhone 15 वाले को iPhone 16 क्यों चाहिए? उसके पास तो पहले से है ना फोन, फिर भी उसको नया फोन क्यों चाहिए, वो भी महंगा? Makes sense. If the price of iPhone would go down, then I would also go in the queue at 11 p.m. The price is going down, but now what is happening is I already have a thing. I'll buy a new thing which is costlier than the existing one. Once I buy the newer one, my existing one is useless. Are you able to understand this? मेरे पास फोन है पहले से 50,000 का. I have a phone of 50,000 rupees. I am trying to buy a new phone which is of 70,000 rupees, and the 50,000 will be useless. Still I am going in a law. Still I am going in a queue to get that phone. क्यों? हाँ जी, कनक तो यहां पर आया बेटा, यहां पे बैठा. क्यों ऐसा क्यों करते लोग? क्योंकि ऐसा मैं इसलिए बताता हूं क्योंकि ये लोग कहते हैं कि अगर आप रेस्टोरेंट में जाते हैं, इफ यू गो टू अ रेस्टोरेंट, हाई एंड रेस्टोरेंट, एंड देन the waiter comes and he speaks in English, so may what can I get for you, बोलते हैं वो लोग sophisticated English में, and then I speak Hindi over there, then इसको what would he think about me, इसको कुछ नहीं आता, अनपढ़ आदमी, गरीब. Then I go over there, I put my phone like this, there are certain goods that become more valuable, there are certain goods that become more valuable as their price increases. In this case, if a product is expensive, then its utility is perceived to be more. And hence the demand for that product increases. These products are considered as status symbol. Example, iPhone. Third one is inferior good. बिल्कुल, डायमंड्स भी इसमें है, गोल्ड भी इसमें, लग्जरी कार्स भी इसी में है. कौन सी डायमंड्स आते हैं? ओके, वो सही कह रहा है. मींस जेंट्री विच नो हु नोज अबाउट दिस, दे वुड बी आस्किंग ये लैब वाला है कि ओरिजिनल वाला है. इट इज स्टिल अंडर देम. बिल्कुल. नेक्स्ट इज inferior goods. For example, I'll explain what are inferior goods. Write down. Inferior good is one whose demand drops when people's income increase. Whose demand will drop when people's income will increase. Now, ideally what should happen? When the income is going up, then the demand of the good should go up, right? But here what is happening is, suppose there is a laborer, there is a casual laborer, and he smokes BD. After 5-6 years, that labor he turns into a mason. Mason, you know, right? So now once he becomes a mason, then he would see the labor is smoking BD. If I also smoke BD, I would be considered equal to him. So just to show his superiority, what would he do? He start smoking cigarette. After 10 years, the same mason becomes contractor. Now the contractor thinks, this mason, he is having a cigarette. The labor, he is having a BD. If I smoke BD or cigarette, I will be considered equal to them. I should do something which shows I am better than them. He starts smoking cigar. They are called inferior goods. Are you able to understand this? What's happening is, as the income is increasing, the demand goes down. So write down, क्या लिखा है? Inferior good is one whose demand drops when people's income increase. Example, using cigarette. मेरे को स्पेलिंग नहीं आते, खुद लिख लेना. CIGARETTE, cigarette, instead of BD instead of BD, as income increases. Put a star and write. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health. ये नहीं लिखना, काट दो, ठीक है, डोंट राइट दिस. आगे लिखिए. These goods are not inferior. These goods are not inferior, not in terms of quality, but in terms of perception of people. Next is substitute goods. Substitute goods. Substitute goods. Write down. क्या होते हैं सब्स्टिट्यूट गुड्स? अभी चाय और कॉफी एक रेट है, 10-10 रुपए का कप है. देन सपोज प्राइस ऑफ टी फ्रॉम 10 इट बिकम्स 25 एंड कॉफी स्टिल 10. व्हाट वुड यू डू? कॉफी. It's pretty simple, right? Substitute goods, right? So write down. They are those goods which are used in place of one another, used in place of one another to fulfill a specific need. For example, if the price of a substitute good bracket say coffee bracket close increases कॉफी का प्राइस बढ़ गया. Price of a substitute good, say coffee, increases, then demand for that given commodity, bracket given commodity bracket example tea bracket close will increase as compared to coffee. ठीक है, ओके सबको. They are also called as alternate goods. Next is complementary goods. Complementary goods क्या होते हैं? Which are used together, are called complementary goods. For example, if price of bread would increase, then demand of butter would also go down. Are you able to understand this? Bread butter complement में चलते हैं, एक साथ चलते हैं. We cannot just have butter, we cannot just have bread. If price of one is increasing, the demand for other would also go down. So write down. These goods are used together to satisfy a specific want or need. एग्जाम्पल, ब्रेड एंड बटर, bread and butter. Example, if the price of the complementary good, if the price of the complementary good, bracket butter, bracket close, increases, then demand for the given commodity, bracket bread, will also decrease, as it will become costlier, for the consumer, to use both goods together. Next is Pigovian goods. Pigovian goods. ये भी एक्सेप्शन में ही आ रहे हैं, जो लॉ ऑफ डिमांड के एक्सेप्शन में है ना, उसे में आ रहे हैं. पिगोवियन गुड्स. अरे इसकी ऐड नहीं आती क्या? अजय देवगन, अक्षय कुमार, टाइगर श्रॉफ, जुबान केसरी. यूपी में सबसे बड़े बिजनेसमैन कौन है? ऑल दिस, गुटखा मेकर, पान मसाला मेकर. सो इट्स क्वाइट पॉसिबल प्रॉफिट ऑफ विमल and profit of TCS is same. Both are contributing to GDP, both are contributing to employment, both are contributing to, I would say, taxation, but one has a negative impact on the society, negative impact, that is called Pigovian goods, negative externalities. So all those goods which have a negative impact on society or on environment, they are called Pigovian goods. All right, so write down these goods. ये Pigovian goods से पहले लिख लीजिए miscellaneous goods. We have done the laws to exception of the demand. Now we are moving on to miscellaneous goods. The last one was complementary goods, right? कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री गुड्स के बाद लिखिए मिसलेनियस गुड्स. अंडर मिसलेनियस गुड्स फर्स्ट वन इज पिगोवियन गुड्स. These goods have a negative impact. These goods have a negative impact on health or society or environment. Example, liquor, गुटखा, etc. लास्ट इज नेटवर्क प्रोडक्ट. जी मिसलेनियस में आएगा नेटवर्क प्रोडक्ट. नेटवर्क प्रोडक्ट्स बोल लो, या फिर यू मे कॉल इट नेटवर्क गुड्स ऑल्सो. Write down. Network product is a product where production processes are globally fragmented and controlled by leading MNCs within their global production network. Different parts of the network product are produced in different countries. For example, different components of iPhone are produced in 43 different countries. These products are driving the GVCs. GVCs क्या होता है? बना लो यार, GVC क्या होता होगा? G से ग्लोबल, C से चेन होगा, वैल्यू, ग्लोबल वैल्यू चेन बोलते हैं, ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन भी बोलते हैं. ग्लोबल वैल्यू चेन और ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन. समझाता हूं मैं. Like if I talk 100 years back, Mercedes was produced in Germany and all components of Mercedes were produced in Germany. Now it doesn't work like this. Now different products are produced in different parts of the world. For example, it's quite possible the music system which is used in Mercedes, that music system is produced by Sony. Sony may be getting the semiconductor from Taiwan. Sony may be getting the wires from China. China may be getting the copper from Brazil or Chile. And then the music system is going to Mercedes, and that Mercedes is coming to India and we are driving it. It's quite possible that tires in Mercedes are getting produced in Malaysia, but the rubber is produced in Kerala. The leather seats which are produced in Mercedes, it's quite possible those leather seats are produced in Italy. We may be calling it Italian leather, but that leather may be just of Kanpur. It's quite possible. So what we are doing is nowadays a final product, whatever are the ingredient parts of the final product, they are not produced in one country. Different parts of the product are produced in different parts of the world. iPhone के अंदर भी it's quite possible the camera is produced in Taiwan. The music system in iPhone, it's getting produced say in Japan, the screen it's getting produced in US. The cover, it may be produced in Switzerland. The box, it may be produced, say, in UAE. The plastic over the box, it may be produced in India. So different components are produced in different parts of the world, and then it is reaching to the final customer. So these products which are produced like this, they are called network products. And these network products are made through global value chains. So one thing is leading to another thing. Rather, nowadays everything is produced through a supply chain. But when the supply chain is spread across the world, it is called global value chain. I'll explain. For example, the Parle-G biscuit which you have, even the biscuit, it goes through a supply chain. The biscuit is not present in nature like a biscuit is present on the tree and we pluck it up. No. Biscuit is like initially there were seeds of wheat. Farmer produces wheat and sells that wheat to a miller. Miller means atta chakki wala, the one who converts wheat into flour. There is another farmer who is having a buffalo or a cow, and from that cow or buffalo he is producing milk, and he is selling that milk to Amul. Amul is converting that milk into milk powder. There is another farmer who is producing sugar cane, and then that sugar cane is sold to a sugar mill, and sugar mill converts it into sugar. So now what we have? We have flour, we have milk powder, we have sugar. All three are sold to Parle, which makes biscuit out of this. Then there is someone else, a remote guy, who is producing plastic, and from that plastic we are producing wrapper. Then there is someone else guy who is producing dye, and then that dye is sold to someone who will be printing that dye into the poster and making that Parle-G in red and white. And then that wrapper is going to Parle. And now the biscuit is put in the wrapper and sold to a state distributor. The state distributor sells it to a city distributor. The city distributor sells it in front of the shop to you, and you buy it from there. Starting from the farmer till the time it reaches you, it is called a supply chain. But here the supply chain is concentrated only in one country. If the supply chain is concentrated globally, it is called a global value chain. Are you able to understand? So nowadays, most of the products which are produced in the world, they are network products, they are part of global value chains. Are you able to understand? So that completes the classification of goods. Let's move to next topic, which is law of supply. कम होती है नहीं, चलो ठीक है, तुम्हारा क्वेश्चन लिया। क्या है कि किसी भी प्रोडक्ट के अंदर, if we talk about any product, every product it involves two type of processes: capital intensive processes, labor intensive processes. ठीक है, कैपिटल इंटेंसिव मार्जिन में लिख लीजिए, processes involved in production of goods. First is कैपिटल इंटेंसिव प्रोसेसेस, और दूसरी कौन सी है? वाह, लेबर इंटेंसिव प्रोसेसेस. Capital intensive processes are technology driven, right? Labor intensive processes, example, assembling. आईफोन के अंदर सबसे अच्छी चीज क्या है? What's the best camera? It's camera, right? So camera, it's like technology driven. तो जो कैमरा वाला पार्ट है, why it is called capital intensive process? It is capital intensive process because technology, it comes from research and development. Research and development comes from capital, right? So this capital intensive processes are carried out in those countries. Where would we be carrying out these capital intensive processes? Where capital is cheap. We have labor intensive processes, we have capital intensive processes. Capital matlab paisa, right? Capital intensive processes would be carried out in those countries where it is cheap to get capital. Labor intensive processes would be carried out in those countries where it is cheap to get labor. Are you able to understand this? India has huge population, India has huge labor, therefore labor cost in India is less. You would have heard that IT industries send their engineers abroad. Have you heard about it, by the way? So why don't those guys have people over there, that they're asking Indian companies to send Indians and work over there? No, we are cheaper. Whatever the US guys are doing in 10 lakh rupees, we are ready to do it in 5 lakh rupees. It is cheaper for the company. So the countries which have more of capital, developed countries have more capital. As they have more capital, hence capital will be cheaper. For example, if we talk about a home loan in India, what's the normal home loan interest rate in India? Any idea? 8%, 9%, or is it like 25%? What's the normal rate of interest? 9%, 10%? What's the rate of interest? What's the home loan interest rate in Canada? It was 2.5% and people were protesting. Itna high rate kaise denge? We said 2.5 rate, so we pay like this. So why is the interest rate so less in Canada or in US? For they have huge capital, hence cost of capital is less. What is cost of capital? पैसे का खर्चा क्या है? What's the cost of capital? It is the interest. So the bank is giving me capital, I am using it the money, hence what am I paying to the bank to use that money? I am paying it interest. So cost of capital is interest, cost of labor is wages. So capital will be cheaper. So therefore capital intensive processes carried out in developed countries. आईफोन का कैमरा ताइवान में बनेगा, जापान में बनेगा, यूएस में बनेगा. आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड? आईफोन की स्क्रीन डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज में बनेगी. आईफोन के सारे कंपोनेंट्स बनके they would go to China and all goods would be assembled in China. China is the assembly of the world. So therefore whatever we buy, it is written as made in China. It's not that starting from scratch to the end product it is made in China. No. It is just that these end products were made in different parts of the world and then at the last they were brought down to China and assembled in China. Why assembled in China? Because assembly is assembling is labor intensive. Assembling is labor intensive. So assembling is a labor intensive process, hence carried out in labor surplus country, as labor is cheaper. तो इसलिए जो कैपिटल इंटेंसिव प्रोसेसेस हैं they are carried out in developed countries because developed countries have more capital, capital is cheaper, and hence capital intensive processes carried out in developed countries while labor intensive processes are carried out in तो ऐसा नहीं है that goods have become costly to produce. Now the goods are produced. The specific processes are carried out in those countries where it is cheaper to carry out that process. तो लेबर वाला काम है send it to that place where labor is cheap. Capital वाला part है, technology वाला part है, send it to that place where the capital is cheap. I hope things are clear, right? I hope whatever is written on the board you guys have written it. ये नहीं लिखा आप लोगों ने तो कोई बात नहीं, आप लिख लीजिए. हाँ जी, shall I dictate it? या ऐसे लिखोगे? ऐसे लिखोगे? ऐसे लिख लो. एग्जाम्पल कैमरा, सेमीकंडक्टर. मैं एक बार बता देता हूं, देख लीजिए, ठीक है? एक मिनट, होल्ड योर राइटिंग, लुक ऑन द बोर्ड. कैपिटल इंटेंसिव प्रोसेसेस, टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन. टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन focus on research and development. So research and development, so basically capital intensive processes would be carried out in those places where capital is cheaper. Developed countries have more capital. Capital intensive processes carried out in developed countries. Fair enough? Here लिख लो, I'll make you dictate. I'll dictate this. Write on. Capital intensive processes are technology driven. Technology is based on R&D. And R&D will be carried out in those countries where more capital is available. And that is in developed countries. Hence capital intensive processes are carried out in developed countries because capital is cheaper in developed countries. capital is cheaper in developed countries. Next is labor intensive processes. Example, assembly of the components. Labor intensive processes. Example, assembly of the components. Assembly is a labor intensive process. Assembly is a labor intensive process. Hence, it will be carried out in those countries where labor is cheap or labor is surplus. And that is the case generally in developing countries. Next topic, law of supply. Law of supply. Write down. As the price of a good increases, the quantity supplied as the price of a good increases, the quantity supplied increases. The law says that a higher price will lead producers to supply a higher quantity to the market. Next topic, factors of production. Factors of production. And corresponding to factors of production, we have factor incomes. Factors of production and factor incomes, ऐसे ही बनाना है. Factors of production, factor incomes. So here at Shubhra Ranjan IAS, what are we producing? We are producing services. So to produce these services, what do we need? We need land, classroom. We need someone who can teach, someone on the recording, someone for the mentorship. We need labor. We need money to buy the board, need money to buy the camera, we need capital. And we need someone who can manage it all, we need the entrepreneur. Need the entrepreneur. ठीक है? The one who has given us land, what does he get in return? He gets rent. Labor will get the one who is giving us capital, he gets प्रॉफिट. ठीक है, इसी के नीचे स्टार डाल के लिखिए फैक्टर कॉस्ट. फैक्टर कॉस्ट factor cost, the cost incurred on the factor incomes, the cost incurred on the factor incomes is called factor cost. Which is equal to rent plus wages plus interest plus profit. ठीक, लास्ट टॉपिक, 2 मिनट और लगेंगे. Three sectors of economy. Three sectors of economy. First is primary sector. It involves agriculture, horticulture, fisheries, forestry, mining, quarrying. क्वेरिंग क्या होता है? व्हाट इज क्वेरिंग? क्वेरिंग इज लाइक ब्रेकिंग डाउन बिगर बोल्डर्स इनटू स्मॉल पीसेस ऑफ स्टोन, दैट्स कॉल्ड क्वेरिंग. जैसे रेलवे लाइन, यू वुड हैव सीन रेलवे लाइंस, अलोंग द रेलवे लाइंस वी हैव स्मॉल स्टोन्स. द स्टोन्स आर नॉट प्रेजेंट इन नेचर लाइक दैट. वी हैव बिग स्टोन्स, बिग बोल्डर्स, वी ब्रेक देम डाउन इनटू स्मॉल पीसेस, दैट्स कॉल्ड क्वेरिंग, राइट? सेकंड इज सेकेंडरी सेक्टर. Primary sector is connected directly to the earth. Primary sector is connected directly to the earth. Secondary sector, manufacturing and construction. Manufacturing, construction. And third is tertiary sector. Which includes services like trade, restaurants, hotels, IT, BPO, KPO, consultancy, etc. Trade, restaurants, hotels, IT, BPO, business process out, BPO you know, right? Call centers, BPO, KPO, knowledge process outsourcing, consultancy, education, health, all of them they come under tertiary sector. Okay. So with this we complete your chapter number 1, lecture number 1, microeconomics. Okay. Tomorrow we will be starting with chapter number 2, which is national income. Okay. See you tomorrow.